Hey YouTube, Kira Twig here, bringing you guys an update to my Yu-Gi-Oh! Vendread deck profile for post-Yu-Gi-Oh! Circuit Breakers. Actually kind of behind on doing the update on this deck, mostly because when I do the update, it's thanks to my friend Phil, who lets me borrow his Vendread deck for the profile. Really cool deck. I love that the TCG exclusive deck concept that we have uses Ritual, because Ritual is one of my favorite deck mechanics out there. Gishkis are my number one. So let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. For starters, I run 3 Vendread Revenants. This is one of your important effect monster cards in the deck. If this card in your possession is destroyed by an opponent's card by battle or card effect and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon this card, but banish it when it leaves the field. A Vendread monster, ritual summon using this card on the field, gains the effect, and you can only use the effect once per turn. Once per turn, it's a quick effect. You can target one special summon monster your opponent controls, banish it. So the banish effect is very dire, mostly because a lot of effects require card effects when they're sent to the graveyard and destroyed. But the banish effect is kind of like that Cosmic Cyclone or Galaxy Cyclone. I cannot remember the difference between the two. I think it is Cosmic Cyclone. For the banish, since not too many effects gain that ability when they are banished. Also 3 Vendread Hound Horde. With this one, if it's in the graveyard, you can discard one Vendread card, special summon this card, but banish it when it leaves the field. And a monster that you ritual summon using this card gains the effect once per turn, quick effect. You can target one spell or trap your opponent controls, banish it. So this card's really good when you go up against cards like True Draco. That's why I love the banish of those cards, since they don't really get any effects. Making MST kind of the risky card to go up for the blind, but this ritual effect comes in real handy with Revenants, giving you a very powerful ritual monster on the field. And speaking of such ritual monster, I run 3 Vendread Slayer. This is your main ritual monster that you'll go into. You can ritual summon this card using any Vendread ritual spell, and once per battle, if this card battles an opponent's monster during damage calc quick effect, you can banish one zombie monster in your graveyard. This card gains, I think it is 300 attack. Yes, 300 attack. And if the ritual summon card is sent to the graveyard, you can add 1 ritual spell from your deck to your hand. And if you do send 1 Vendread monster from your deck to the graveyard, you can only use the effect of Slayer once per turn. So it comes in very handy when you send the Hound Horde off the effect. And the recycling ability for the spell card means you can ritual summon later on if need be. Like, let's say this card is locked down in some way and you need another one out on the field. Just comes in very handy in that situation. Also running 2 of the new Vendread Chimera. This card is your level 5 ritual. Same effect, you can ritual summon it using a Vendread ritual spell, and when a card or effect is activated that would destroy a card on the field, quick effect, you could banish 1 zombie monster from your graveyard, negate the activation, and if you do, destroy that card. If this card is tribute or banished for a ritual summon, all monsters your opponent control lose 500 attack and defense. You can only use each effect of Chimera once per turn. So the lose effect isn't a target effect as well, so you have that to go off of to get rid of some pesky, strong attack by monsters your opponent controls. Plus you have the negation effect, which combined with Slayer with his ability, and depending on what you used for, the ritual summon can be very powerful with both of those monsters. And then for the generic zombie support, I run 3 Zombie Master. This card is pretty standard. Once per turn, you can send 1 monster card from your hand to the graveyard, special summon 1 level 4 lower zombie type monster from either player's graveyard. So just field consistency helps build up for your ritual summon. If by lucky chance you have a zombie monster in your opponent's graveyard, you can grab that as well. And also pretty standard in zombie decks, 3 Mizuki. Banish this card from your graveyard, target 1 zombie monster in your graveyard, special summon it. So you always have field consistent plays. You just have to make sure your graveyard is set up to the proper standard that you want. Also, 3 Unizombie. It's really good to run this card. You can target 1 face-up monster on the field, discard 1 card, and if you do, increase the target's level by 1. Then you can target 1 face-up monster on the field. Monsters you control cannot attack for the rest of the turn, except for zombie-type monsters. Also send 1 zombie-type monster from your deck to the graveyard. If you do, increase that target's level by 1. You can only use each effect of Unizombie once per turn. So the level adjustment helps you to go into some pretty powerful synchro monsters, plus the send effect gets zombies that you can use, for example, in your graveyard for their effects as well. But I love that he's a tuner, just really helps for those powerful synchro plays. Also run 3 Shiranui Solitaire. The Shiranui engine, big monster count in the deck just because it all works very well together. You contribute 1 zombie type monster, special summon 1 zombie type tuner with 0 defense from your deck, and if this card is banished, you can target 1 of your banished Shiranui monsters except for Solitaire, or up to 2 if Shiranui style, since this is on the field, special summon them. You can only use the effect once per turn, so it works very well with the Unizombie play. Pretty standard. I also run the 1 Spirit Master to have that target. When it's normal summon, target 1 Shiranui monster from your hand or graveyard except for Spirit Master, but banish it when it leaves the field. And if this card is banished, you can target 1 face of card your opponent controls to destroy it. So the good pop effect, just to tech the 1 in off of the Solitaire. And that is it for the monster count. Like I said, we're running a pretty big monster count, but it all runs very, very well together, so you can't go wrong with those adds. As for the spells, 3 Vendread Origins. Plenty of ritual monsters now to make full use of this card, and it's also searchable with some of the other cards we'll get to in a bit. It can be used to ritual summon any Vendread ritual monster from your hand or graveyard. You may also tribute monsters from your hand or field and banish zombie monsters from your graveyard whose total level exceed the level of the ritual monster. You ritual summon if Vendread Slayer you control would be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard instead. So great protection. The banish effect really, really helps with your ritual summons as well, so you can't go wrong with it there. Just sitting on this in the graveyard as well is what I love about a lot of the new ritual spell cards. Also, 3 Vendread Knights. This card, basically a field spell power. You can discard 1 card, add 1 Vendread monster from your deck to your hand. Go and use the effect of Knights once per turn. When your Vendread monster declares an opponent's monster by battle, destroys, not declares. You can banish 1 Vendread monster from your graveyard. It can attack an opponent's monster again in a row. So very, very powerful with your ritual monster. Plus the graveyard setup. Keep going back to that search. Graveyard build up, can't go wrong there. It just helps so much with this card in play. Max it out at 3, because you always want to have it on your field spell zone. Plus 3 Allure of Darkness. All the monsters in this deck are pretty much dark, so you'll be pretty consistent with the Allure draws. Also 3 Preparation of Rites for the search power. And adding the ritual and the search spell, since it's the quickest way to add them from your deck to your hand. And also, I can add 1 pre-prep, just for, wish this card wasn't in 1. It really hurt Necroz, but also hurts this deck as well. But still pretty powerful with the pre-preps. And also 1 Burial from a different dimension to add back your banished monsters to reuse them, like Mizuki and whatnot. And also 1 Foolish Burial, can't go wrong with the send off of this. And then the final tech is the 1 Book of Moon for a full spell lineup. Can't go wrong with the 40 card. Get your plays off what you need. Traps kind of slow it down for the back row protection that you don't really need, since you go off of a lot of your monsters' effects to protect yourself from your opponent. If you want to sub in something else like Regeki, you can do that as well if you don't want to run the Book of Moon. And then moving on to the extra deck, I run 1 Ptolemy M7 for the possible basic overlays with your Slayers into this card, or depending on what other level monster you have. And also 1 Leviaire the Sea Dragon for your grabbing back of banished monsters. Most of the time I use Unizombie or the basic, where is he? Hound Horde, since they are your level 3s to go into. And then for generics, Baguska, Tornado Dragon, Castel, Karen Gorgon, and for the last rank 3, Breaksword for pop effects if you don't have anything to grab back from Banish. For your Link monsters, 1 Borreload and 1 Decode Talker. Plenty of Field Swarm, like I said, if you need these to get over cards like Baguska or other effects that really, like Quaking Mirror Force, stuff like that. These cards come in real handy there. And then for the synchros, I run 1 Psyframe Lord Omega, 1 Beals, since they are mostly darks that you work with, 2 Shogun Sagas. This card with Solitaire is very powerful as well, and 1 Leo, Keeper of the Sacred Tree, and 1 Black Rose Dragon to finish off. If you wanted to take out the Black Rose Dragon, because most of this deck is for Field Swarm, you can put in Ancient Fairy Dragon instead of this, since it can search out the field spell. I don't run Terraforming just because having multiples of the card doesn't really do you too much. You want to basically just have the one set up, and then if need be, if it's destroyed, draw into the other ones. But yeah, that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoyed this video. Once again, thanks to my friend Phil for letting me borrow his deck, and hopefully we get some really good Vendread support in the upcoming set, Extreme Force. It'll definitely help the deck be just as powerful, if not more, with what we get. Once again, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and until next time, Kira Twig out.